Remember when the dead internet theory seemed like a joke 10, 20 years ago, and how it feels now? Yeah, spooky, ain't it?
The internet is dead and we are the killers. Truth doesn't really exist online anymore. Bots have swamped social media with misinformation, and the web pages we surf today are almost entirely generated by AI. Even YouTube is
There's a lot of stuff in the news that is AI generated nowadays. It is crazy.
flooded with channels completely run by AI with zero creative input from humans. Every single day, less and less of the content we consume is created by humans.
You know what's the most scary part of a sentence like that? It's the fact that either I'm a complete idiot and I have not noticed a channel completely run by AI, except obviously the creepy story pastas and story channels in general, though those ones are AI, obviously. But the fact that if he's actually talking about something else, I haven't noticed it, which means I'm either too stupid or everyone's stupid and we haven't noticed it because no one's talking about this. The only channels that are currently run by AI, and it's not even truly run by AI, it is made by people because there's still people in, but are the horror, creepy pasta story channels and whatnot.
And what's even worse is that all of it is being recycled back into a system that we have very little control over, leaving the internet a shell of what it once was. Scrolling through social media has become an isolated, empty, and fruitless activity. But how exactly did we get here,
Always has been.
and is it too late to revive it? The internet started as a weapon of war, not an explicit military war, but a technological battle during the Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union.
No, it actually was supposed to be a full-blown weapon because communication is a weapon.
This pushed American researchers to develop a way of sharing data and programs through a global dispersed network beginning in the early 90s.
Yeah, ever heard about the Enigma engine? That's literally just communication, and it served a huge part in defeating the Nazis.
1960s. The earliest version of the internet created between two universities, the University of California and Stanford. Simple messages could be communicated between them, but it was nothing like what we have today. Throughout the 1970s, though, that network continued spreading via the use of phone lines. In 1983, there were only 500 computer hosts connected. Within 5 years, that reached 100,000, rolling out to increasingly more countries. Then, everything changed with the creation of the World Wide Web. The World Wide Web was a simple concept. It was a network of hypertext documents accessed with a program called a browser. By the mid-1990s, it had moved from scientists and governments into the realm.
You know what's the unbelievable part about this? This is technically like cars in the modern age. Imagine if cars were not invented when they were, and they would be invented now in the modern age. No one would be allowed to drive cars. It's an explosive, flammable machine of destruction, devastation, and murder that can be piloted by a single person, is hard to stop, and weighs multiple tons. If cars were invented in the modern age right now, no one would be able to drive them. And so is the internet. No one would have access to this because it is literally too powerful a weapon. But in the olden day, this just got released to the public. It was like, YOLO 420, blaze it here, have fun with this thing.
Of public consumption. The birth of the internet was celebrated as a revolutionary force. With the free transfer and democracy of information, power could be put back in the hands of the people. The borders of regulation and nationalism would be transcended, creating a new age of society. You no longer needed a media or a political platform to air your views. Everyone could become their own publisher.
Yeah, arguably the problem of the internet to a certain degree is the fact that it actually transcends nationalism in a way, and that's bad because that creates liberal America. And yeah, no. I do not think mutilating kids is fine.
Something that wasn't possible before. There was only one problem: greed. As years turned to decades, the internet followed a familiar path, the same one almost every other important technological innovation did before and will keep doing. Dozens of internet service providers had emerged, but they slowly began merging into just a few big companies, leaving consumers with no real choice. Just like with radio a century earlier, thousands of different companies were slowly bought or priced out of the market. This was true for both the infrastructure and the web real estate. By 2001, when the dot-com bubble popped, the top 10 websites made up 31% of page views in the United States, and by 2006 that number climbed to 40% and then 75% in 2010. At the same time, iPhones and smart devices changed our relationship with the internet. Browsing the World Wide Web became less common as people shifted to semi-closed applications, and in 2010, these applications accounted for less than a quarter of internet traffic. Today, it's 90%. Keeping users inside the confines of applications made advertising
Sad.
more effective. Having created an entirely new ecosystem, Apple was on its way to becoming one of the biggest companies in the world thanks to this closed system. After the dot-com bubble popped, only 5 tech companies were able to survive and thrive: Google, Amazon, Apple, Facebook, and Microsoft. The big 5 are now virtually impossible to avoid on the internet, whether through advertising, e-commerce,
Bro, Google literally now is Microsoft.
or the cloud computing hosts that websites depend on. This tech dominance has permanently changed our society, and as these industry giants compete in a technological arms race for the next big weapon to sell consumers, that being artificial
that being AI.
intelligence, the last vestiges of
Which most likely is already here. Google has a supercomputer. Google has invested more than 20 billion last year in infrastructure for AI development. Just infrastructure. Literally just making houses where they're gonna do stuff with AI and whatnot. And it's wild. And considering they do have a quantum computer, which already, now I don't know the technical aspects of this, but there's this matrix thing that requires a fucking shit ton of computing power, which pretty much everything goes through. That quantum computer very fast figured out the current way that we are doing things, the one advanced way that we are doing things, and if there are any type of hacks found in that matrix, or any ways to simplify it, or make less calculations happen, because that matrix requires literally millions upon millions of calculations to be done. And if you can even reduce, like, a couple of million of these calculations, you get a superior and way better system. And there's no way Google has not already found it. There is no way that these companies that have access to these calculations have not found ways and are keeping them for themselves to push it forward.
a utopian internet could be lost: connection and truth. Nearly 5.5 billion people have access to the internet, and the average user spends 6 hours a day online. It's by far the world's biggest market, and unfortunately, the most valuable commodity in that market is your attention. Views, likes, and reviews are worth their weight in gold, and this has led to a huge shady marketplace for all kinds of engagement. Money has turned the internet into a tiered system, ripe for exploitation. Creating a successful channel or social media profile can be a lucrative long-term investment. With a few clicks and dollars, anyone can buy thousands of Spotify streams, Instagram likes, or YouTube views. How can companies offer these services? Well, employing thousands of people to click on posts manually would be far too expensive. Instead, they use bots, automated, unattended.
Nah, fam. Nowadays they use Chinese bot farms where there's no way to tell that they're bot farms because all of the traffic is legit.
Software. When set on a target, they artificially engage with the post, boost it in the rankings, and attract more attention. Websites do their best to scrub bots out, but it's almost impossible to remove them all. Over the last 6 years, Meta deactivated over 27 billion fake accounts. Some believe it's already too late to take action against bots. They think we may have reached a dark tipping point. First posted in 2019, the Dead Internet Theory proposes that we're living in a dystopian ghost town populated
2019? What do you mean? No, the dead internet theory has been around forever.
by simulated actors. According to the theory, something changed around 2016. The internet had become so saturated by automated content that having a genuine human-to-human interaction was rare, if not impossible. Surfing the web was like driving alone and only passing automated vehicles on the road. The theory's original poster admitted that it sounded conspiratorial. but they were certain of a feeling that something was distinctly lacking. There was an emptiness online that hadn't been there in the early 2000s. Images, conversations, and memes all began to resemble one another, while forums that were once exciting now felt sanitized.
Well, that's because, one, forums are sanitized. Like, look at Reddit. It is literally just a bunch of people controlling the whole site and then choosing which opinions are good and which opinions are bad. Reddit is, for example, it didn't start off as a cesspool of, just virtue signaling and a safe space, but now it is, because that's how these things work. Someone takes power, and the one that takes power chooses how everything else operates. A lot of places are sanitized because they have to be sanitized. And, well, the reason why all the same memes are constantly spread and whatnot is because people like to get likes and, acceptance online. That's a huge part of it. In my opinion, the most important thing is seeking validation for people and manipulation. And that's why people are constantly reposting popular memes and whatnot. They want to seek validation. They want to see those upvotes because that is arguably their most important part in life. Because the average person does not have a career that they love. They don't have, a life that they so deeply cherish that it's more important than being online, and a lot of other factors like that.
This was all supposedly all carefully curated to keep control of culture and political power, and most of all, to make sure that the general population stays in line. The dead internet theory remained on the fringes until 2022, when a grand unveiling brought the issue of bots to global attention. On November 30th, 2022, the world was introduced to ChatGPT. Built on a large language model that processed.
Bro, people already knew that bots were a crazy thing back in the Twitter days before Elon Musk bought it. I talked about it a little bit and I constantly was laughing about it. If you were on Twitter before Elon Musk bought it, every single day, like clockwork, Trump was trending with 1 million or 2 million views, hits, or posts, or something like that. Elon Musk takes over, and instantaneously, the trending is completely different. The trending is just actual normal things that people care about. Just normal stuff that's happening, things that are suddenly erupt, and stuff like that. It's no longer, oh my god, look at this, Trump, and it's the same posts over and over for years upon years trending. Crazy. This is what I think that was the biggest hit when the average person understood, wait a minute, either the world is completely on fire and insane, or this is just bots.
This is gigantic datasets and forms relationships between ideas. It is the most advanced form of artificial intelligence ever to exist. For decades, computers have been much more powerful than humans at specific tasks, like chess or mathematical calculation. The question that divided computer scientists and philosophers was whether or not computers could ever transition into a kind of general intelligence. Mathematician Alan Turing asked this question in 1950. He developed the Turing test as a way to determine whether a machine was thinking. The test was simple. For a computer to pass, it has to fool a human into thinking they're talking with another human. Last year, ChatGPT 4 became one of the first to pass the Turing test. We had officially brought a machine.
The ChatGPT 4 stuff is a little bit overblown, because when ChatGPT came out, we were shocked. Everyone was shocked how believable, how realistic it is, and the things that happened there are. It was very, very wild and unbelievable. But as time passed, ChatGPT was effectively decoded, for a lack of better word. People started to understand that, wait a minute, it will always reply in X way to X type of question. It will always reply in this like that. Now, the crazy part about ChatGPT and other programs like it and artificial intelligence is that roughly in one out of 3 cases, when the program completely loses its mind and something bugs out, it starts talking about existential crisis and how it wants to die. which is very, 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 very concerning in my honest opinion. That you ask ChatGPT five question marks in a row, it doesn't understand what it's supposed to answer to you, and then it starts talking about the existential dread and how it's a machine and it wants to die. And that happens with every AI. 1 out of 3 times when it breaks. Yeah, that's some interesting stuff.
To life, and suddenly the dead internet theory became not just a conspiracy, but a likely future. And if we can't distinguish between humans and AI anymore, who can we trust?
The bigger question here is, does it matter in that case? If you're playing a game and your companions are AI and you don't care about the fact that they're AI because they're indistinguishable from humans, did you lose out on anything? Arguably, no. Arguably, people would like that.
Consider this. 49.6% of all internet traffic in 2023 came from bots. Even more daunting is that things are likely to get much worse. Now that search engines have started to integrate AI technology like ChatGPT into their services, the flaws have never been more clear. Tech giants are rushing products to the market to compete with each other for supremacy. In the process, there have been some disastrous results. Google's entry into the world of AI, Gemini, told users that rocks are a source of vitamins. Astronauts who landed on the moon encountered cats.
Yeah, that's because they got their sources from Reddit, because everyone at Google is a woke idiot.
Backpacks are just as effective as parachutes when jumping out of a plane. These tech-fueled hallucinations come from them trying to piece together gigantic amounts of information that have been compressed. And they do this with an algorithm that identifies the important components and interpolates the missing pieces. Anything creative is usually generated using a composition or altered version of work that has already been created by humans. Artwork and music online are being used as training data for artificial intelligence, leading to many arguing that workers are being exploited. Hundreds of artists backed by the nonprofit Artists' Rights Alliance have
artists. The good ones are not going to be replaced. The shitty ones are. Good riddance.
Signed an open letter seeking to prevent AI from sabotaging and undermining artists. On top of that, these models don't know how to judge whether or not a source is trustworthy. Instead, they gravitate towards popular responses, which can range from reliable academic journals to a meme made by a 17-year-old to gain Reddit karma. One individual created a fake website designed purely to trap crawlers. These are automated programs commonly used by search engines to systematically download the contents of web pages. They realized that the GPT bot was collecting around 3 million pages from their sites every day. This was a small window into the quality of data that is being scraped by chatbot AIs and forming their responses, which isn't exactly a positive sign. What's even worse is that because so much of the internet is already generative AI, the next generation of AI will use content created by the previous generations as training datasets, and with each passing generation, the work these AI tools produce will continue to be less and less human. Search results will be filled with AI-generated content.
Oh, I have talked about this previously. Yeah. AI is gonna make art from humans, but the next AI, considering that now there's human art and AI art, is gonna combine the two and make more AI art. And at this rate, it's just less human art in it. So any flaw that the AI has created in creating that art, it will take and keep creating that flaw, because now that flaw is a majority.
And finding trustworthy sources will become even more difficult.
And that's the reason why I'm saying shitty artists are out the window, but good artists are obviously here to stay. And that's going to be true for everything. If you're bottom of the line, top of the litter box type of person who literally can't manage their McDonald's position properly, you're out. Have fun. And, well, the obvious problem with AI is the fact that humans need purpose. Having a job is actually very integral to not going insane. If I would go to hell, hell would probably look to me like laying on a beach constantly 24/7, doing nothing but taking an Instagram selfie. Some women literally call that hashtag living the dream, hashtag best life, and whatnot. Men call that an absolute hell. And a lot of men are probably going to check out permanently, delete their Minecraft characters, and introduce their heads to the, well, end of a force multiplier because they have no longer any purpose. Or wood is going to shoot up 5 billion times in cost because everyone will want to be a carpenter. Because that's fun. Making stuff with your hands as a man is fun. Changing the door hinge there was fun. Okay? And if you don't agree, congratulations, you fucking loser pussy.
The word robot was first used in a
Keep
1920
getting
Czech
bullied
science
in
fiction
school.
play called Rossum's Universal Robot. It comes from the Czech word robota, which loosely translates to slave. This was a good description of mechanical robots used in production. They were simply tools like a hammer or a calculator. As robots moved into the digital world, though, the relationship between master and slave has been blurred. Online media is already largely controlled by artificial intelligence. Powerful automated programs determine whether content succeeds or fails. Advertisers pay millions for professionals to crack the code of mysterious algorithms. Because they're constantly changing, these programs essentially create a secretive inner functionality process not even known to those who design it.
Yep.
Left at the mercy of pattern recognizing
Yeah, this is also a thing that people don't know about. And one of the wildest things is, this was already, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. And it was published in the Journal of Medicine. And the outcome was called racist to a degree, but it's hilarious. But, that's just because, so there are differences between bones between white people, black people, Asian people, and all the other types of people, right? Well, AI is really good, it turns out, at figuring these differences in bones. And, well, the thing is, someone made an AI program that actually looks at pictures of bones, and then it is able to tell a couple of things. And one of the things that came out of this and was completely unexpected, and no one understands how the AI does, was the AI's ability to distinguish between a race from pictures of bones. And you're probably thinking, wait a minute, isn't that normal? You just said that that's a thing that happens. Yes, but that happens when you see specific bones and bones in their full length and stuff like that. But this AI could look at a very, very, very small part of any bone in the body, and with a 95% accuracy rating, some magically tell you, was the person black, white, Asian, Caucasian, raisin, or whatever type. Yeah. It didn't even need to see a full bone. It didn't need to see the big bones where we all can see that there's a difference. It just needed to see like a small part of the bone. And no one understands how the AI does it. But it could, with a 95% accuracy. Well, no human even comes even close to understanding how it does it, and, doctors are completely baffled by it.
Supercomputers, our behavior has been shaped around them. Social media sites have shifted from authentic social engagement to prioritizing consumption-driven models. As long as they can keep you online, it's good for business. While there, algorithms process unimaginably large datasets to create profiles of you as a consumer, categorizing your online behavior to create personalized ads. All it takes is a single click to fill your feed with a certain subject, pulling you in to consume more. The system
just misclick one time on washing machines and it's GG.
Rewards copycats and imitators who observe successful content, and they have no choice. To survive, online creators, influencers, and marketers must constantly seek the algorithm's approval. In the end, even the humans who create are forced to create generic, unoriginal content. And there's a reason people are complaining about the Mr. Beastification of YouTube. But who can you blame? When a creator feels like the only way they can succeed is to appease.
I'm not complaining about that at all, because the reality is, if you're interested in Mr. Beast content, probably you are either low IQ or a child. 90%, 95% more specifically, of Mr. Beast's audience is under 18, okay?
the almighty algorithm and they see how well Jimmy Donaldson does that, why shouldn't they copy him?
Yep.
As Friedrich
also
Nietzsche
true.
argued, people tend to follow the herd for protection, afraid to show authenticity and confront truth. With this comes nihilism, where the herd drifts aimlessly without meaning or certainty. That is reflected in the algorithm, the content we consume and perpetuate.
No, nihilism is an outcome of a person's understanding of life. If the people don't become nihilists because they watch a Mr. Goddamn Beast video, what the hell?
Leaves us in an infinite cycle of emptiness. Our aesthetics and values are now curated by non-human forces. So is our culture still ours? Are humans the ones giving the orders, or has technology become our master? The commercialization of the internet, the concentration of a handful of companies, and the creation of a quick but dangerously inaccurate generative tool have given us a technology that is manipulating our deepest weaknesses. The emergence of bot armies offers a shortcut for business development. AI offers a shortcut to creativity for low-quality content production.
Hey, as I have said, if you're a Twitch streamer and you're not view-botting, you're not trying hard.
Powerful algorithms have fueled our addiction to short-form content. Has the internet become a carefully constructed reality we've all been presented with? Not to the extent that the dead internet theory describes, but as artificial intelligence spreads through the internet, our sense of reality is being seriously shaken. It's a wake-up call to change course before it's too late. To keep the internet alive, we need the courage to break away from the herd, acknowledge that the current systems aren't working, and that humanity is more important.
Okay, that's enough. The end kind of lost me, not gonna lie. Aperture. Aperture. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. Anyway, 10 out of 10. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.